He was a military general when war that they was having when they said that St. Patrick eradicated the snakes from Ireland to slaughter the priests of Ireland and to capture the princesses, Scotta and Scotia. They thought they killed them, but they didn't. Scotta fell off the Abbey, was rescued by Templars when she fell into the ocean. Her sister jumped in behind her. They both knew how to swim. So the Templars put him on a boat and brought him over here. So they don't know that Nova Scotia is the oldest European name on the land. It's really New Scotia. And Scotta set up with her redhead offspring in what we call the Appalachian Mountains. They had blue skin because they used to drink silver water for health benefits, and they all would turn blue.
They look like the Avatar people.
Yeah, but they had red hair.
Right.
They still got some now. If you Google blue people in Kentucky or Tennessee, it's gonna come up. This is this is basic, commonly traceable information I'm talking about. It's all in the public domain. They just didn't want us to know what it meant. Right? The Silverwater was the ones who had the freckles, the piebald suntan, the gingers, will get real bad sunburns. So the Big Mama on the land told them they had to drink silver water, because when they drink silver water, it's going to turn them blue, and that's going to allow them to assimilate the UV rays and survive on the land. Wow. That's the culture. Right. Anybody come over here, we was healing them. All of their sicknesses and diseases, we was healing them. And that's how we end up getting blindsided by smallpox in blankets. Yep. We didn't have enough time to study it to have a remedy for it. Yeah. But once we get enough time to study it, we're gonna have a remedy for it.
Exactly. Speaking of which, right? In their new system, I don't know if it's going to be successful or not, right? But I have all of their domain names. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is set up a neutral database that's decentralized, that's going to collect the data, long-term data for people that are taking, so that we can figure out exactly what's it doing to the masses. The doctors and the holistic practitioners, they do what they need to do on them, and they can report their findings. It's going to be a worldwide database. I need assistance because I don't know all the languages on the land, right? I don't know all the languages, how people communicate, what this means, what that means. But I believe it's going to be something big and something major, because we need to figure out what are the long-term effects. Everybody's family members have been affected by it.
Yeah. All of those documents, everything you're saying, yeah, they already know. None of this shit ain't new. Yeah. They've been documenting this shit since they was working on it in the laboratory. All these new diseases that's coming out in the 2000s was made in the 40s and the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
They was all used in the original chemical warfare research program. But it goes back further than that. Chemical warfare has been going on for thousands of years. Right. They just got the handbook out of the sutras that they seized from India. They call them the Scrolls of Destiny. And in there, it tells them to how to control populations by infecting them with diseases, and then it give them the formulas for the diseases. So all this shit is old. Ain't none of this shit new.
Right.
The new data is because they haven't reviewed the old data to know that it's been on file the whole time. All this shit is already on file. They already got um, stacks and stacks of research papers of the original creators of the diseases, from Fauci and his HIV development team to the World Health Organization financing it, through the United Nations, who was getting the money from Switzerland.
Right.
Directly from the International Monetary Fund.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they was funding it with tax dollars. Because your tax dollars don't go to your government. Your tax dollars go to the International Monetary Fund, and they spend the money how they see fit, because you're an imbecile.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how they determine everything, even with our financial system. The Swiss Confederacy is the one that meets with all of the quote-unquote leaders to determine the monetary system, the Swiss franc. And we think that our money is going to, or what we think it should be going, but no. By us being a part of their system, participating, they do whatever they want to do with the money, and that's how they get away with whatever. You feel me?
So they was using the money to lend to third world countries for developmental purposes, in order to enslave the country in the perpetual debt that they would never be able to pay. When they decided to call in the debt, they called the debt in the form of the labor of the people to serve as their servants to build their holdings on that particular geography that's mapped out in lines of demarcation established in the Berlin Conference. If you want to know who getting the money out of Africa and from what country they from, just look at the Berlin Conference. It tells you who's allocated what. America had one piece of land that was delegated for military purposes, and they called it Liberia. Because they declared it a continuation of the occupation of the United States, they have to populate it with somebody from the United States, or they lose their charter. So they created something called the Back to Africa movement or the Liberia movement, depending on who's telling the story.
Yep. Crazy. And the flag looks very similar to the flag they got here.
It looked more like a Puerto Rican flag.
Yeah, right.
But it's called Africa's Lone Star State. It's supposed to be a mirror state to Texas. That means that the tribes at any time can separate and overthrow Liberia just by reclaiming their portion of land back. All of these governments is just there to perform what's called administrative duties for the crown.
Yep.
Right? So they're accountants. Right? And in order for the accountants to keep the people in order and counted for, they use public servants of the crown called policy enforcers, slave patrol. They're supposed to patrol the Queen's territory or the Crown's territory, report back to the landlords the status of the local land that's under their dominion. The landlords supposed to hold the patent that tell the policy enforcer what geography of land he's patrolling. Then they mapped them out in lines of demarcations and reclassified them as cities. Every city is a citadel, right? The towns, townships, counties, and regions are organic tribal land masses that was originally controlled by a lesser chief, or a chief just was a local chief. Right? Now, when you get enough chiefs under a particular landmass who's been displaced, they can vex the grievance to the chief that's over the region. This is how we call each other to respond to the grievances of the land in order for us to go back to the great law if it's ever been usurped. It was usurped. So to talk about the culture and to deal with the legalese that come along with the invading force is to explain to our people that one of the chiefs has examined everything these motherfuckers threw at us. and now I'm telling us how to get out.
Yep.
So the chief responsibility is to say it over and over in the public domain till enough of the tribesmen hear it and demand their chiefs to act on it. We just waiting to reach critical mass. Critical mass of awareness is all that's necessary to be victorious over the enemy, because in the process of building up to that, the military has to respond to the needs of the nation, and this is what 45's been up to.
I've been listening to and I've been posting Dr. Jan Harper Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
She's been giving motherfuckers that heat about what's going on. You know,
Yeah, she the undisputed truth.
Oh yeah, and she been saying, "Listen up, y'all. At the end of the day, Joe Biden is only the legitimate president of the United States Corporation, which is now bankrupt and defunct." She went on GBN and said that it took over 650 planes to pull all the gold out of the Vatican, and said it is over, it's finished. You see what I mean? They putting him and his crew. They got mugshots, but that shit don't matter, because at the end of the day, we know that y'all's system is crumbling. There's no other way around that. No
Did
other
I
way.
tell you they went in Switzerland too? We sent Interpol in Switzerland. And they arrested all of the royal families that was in hiding, that was behind the dirt. And some of them motherfuckers look just like that motherfucker from Django. The one Samuel L. Jackson was playing.
Wow. Oh, I'm sure.
That's them.
I'm sure.
Them the ones. Them.
Yeah, we would have never figured it out. You know what I mean?
All you had to do, follow the money.
Yep, follow the money. And people didn't understand that, right? Like, I'm telling people, I'm breaking it down. Even in they put it in all the occult paintings, even at up in the upper room. That's up in the upper room knowledge, with the Switzerland woman controlling our women, right? Through a Trojan horse, which is the television, which is the media, which is the legalese, which is the 2D instruments. It's been the dirty Moors the entire time. It's been them the entire time. Same thing that you've been saying. Why Noble Drew Ali went in and infiltrated the Moorish Zionists? They were the ones that was
holding us in hostage, and only they knew what they was doing, because they was keeping it secret from us. Right. And that's why he said I had to put their secrets in the public domain. Right. Once he did that, all of the chiefs got a piece of their secrets and told the story from a different angle, and then one of the other chiefs come through and have to put all the pieces together. So I put all the pieces together, told the story. Yep. They all tell it, but we don't know how the symbolism speak louder than the words. They say Elijah Muhammad don't teach Islam like they do in the Middle East. Motherfucker, he ain't from the Middle East. Right. He ain't supposed to teach us how to live like an Arab. Right. He supposed to say, hey, I see in this book something I can use I can use to uplift my people to a higher consciousness. But I got to teach it my way. Yep. That's our culture. Once you know that that's part of our culture and that's how we teach, then you will understand why Yahweh ben Yahweh splintered off and established Hebrew Israelites. Then you will understand what Clarence 13X was doing with the nation of gods and earths. Right? Elijah Muhammad was a high master teacher. And he taught masters who paid attention as students how to reach mastery of self. And this is more important than anything that people see, because they not paying attention to the product, tell the tree bark or the fruit it bear. Many good men have came out of the Nation of Islam. And we also know that the Nation of Islam was infiltrated by the enemy. Yep. And we also know that if the Nation of Islam was infiltrated by the enemy, they can't be pale-faced.
Right. Exactly. Because I haven't seen one, excuse me, forgive me, but I haven't seen one Nation of Islam European brother. I haven't.
Now
Be honest.
I know some Europeans who follow Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam teachings and live by them, but they're not members.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not allowed to be a member. But see, Elijah Muhammad was smarter than the average bear. If the enemy look like us and they telling us he got a pale face, how can I prove to a chief in the future that the enemy don't got a pale face? I start an organization and I block the pale face out and call him the devil. But watch my organization. Right? So they call themselves in the Black Muslim Mafia. They don't operate and follow the orders of Elijah Muhammad. They got their own splinter group. But they all go to the mosque and pretend to be FOI. We know they shot Puddin, Clarence 13X. We know niggas shot him.
Right.
We know for a fact some niggas shot Malcolm. We know this.
Yep.
Right? And they no secret. And if you look at the dynamic, the only reason why a pale face was used for Martin is because the niggas sold him out and got caught.
Right.
I don't mean figuratively got caught. I mean, literally got caught, and not one of them was charged with conspiracy for the murder of Martin Luther King. Now, for those who's listening to this, the reference is the King family sues the federal government for assassination of Martin Luther King. Also, a follow-up or a discussion was given about it from Dick Gregory. Right? But the King family won the lawsuit. Implicated as conspirators was every one of them motherfuckers standing next to Martin when he got shot.
Wow. Yep.
Go look it up. Some niggas was behind it the whole time.
Yeah.
So now, what do that mean for Paleface? What they doing? Right? Because they told us Paleface had us in slavery. And in the end, we supposed to be so mad at Paleface for our suffering that we just slaughter Paleface like insanity. Right? And if we look at the study of Helter Skelter, Charles Manson, and we look at the study of Joseph Senku, both of them was trained by the federal government that's owned by the Moorish Zionist Temple. The federal government is owned by the Royal Moroccan Company, a holding of the London Royal House. Them people that was living there was just that, living there. Right? Okay, now, they assassinate Martin. Malcolm come out, and it looked like he beefing with Elijah, but you ain't paying attention to the story. Because whatever Elijah called Malcolm to Arizona to do, Wharf Dean refused to do it. He needed somebody to run the red herring